Amazing transformation. Chef exposing feelings unveils incredible night with cook at Gala ball. Mia stared incredulously at the golden envelope delivered to her tiny apartment. It beckoned her to a gala ball where culinary stars converged and dreams took flight. But instead of excitement, a wave of dread washed over her. The whispers of "just the diner chef" echoed in her mind. She'd spent years pouring her heart into each homemade dish at Tom's Diner, crafting flavors with the memories of her father's kitchen swirling within her. But would they ever recognize her? Would they see beneath her apron to the artist struggling to emerge? Her father's voice echoed in her head. "You must work hard, Mia. No one can take that from you." The late-night shifts had always been a tribute to him, yet here she stood, torn between the weight of his dreams and her own yearning to be acknowledged. Could she risk failure again, or was this her chance to prove she was more than just the background noise of the dining scene? As she prepared her signature dish, a rich, savory stew infused with love and tradition, the thumping in her chest mirrored the bubbling stock on the stove. Doubt nagged at her. What if Chef Adams showed up at the gala? He had always dismissed her, insisting she lacked the refinement to compete. A flicker of rage ignited within her. She'd never accepted his sneers without question, and her stubbornness fueled her ambition. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the day of the gala arrived and she stood before the venue, the grand entrance loomed like a castle, opulent chandeliers gleaming overhead. Fear crept into Mia's heart. All around her, chefs wore smug expressions, navigating the polished floors with the ease of seasoned players. Would she, a mere diner chef, ever slip into that world? As she moved closer, she felt the weight of insecurity press against her chest, nearly choking her resolve. The moment to serve her dish illuminated her resolve. She had poured everything into this, each flavor, every ounce of love whispered through the years. She stepped forward, laying bare her heritage. To her astonishment, the audience leaned in, captivated. Their praise washed over her. But then a shadow appeared. Chef Adams hovered nearby, a grin plastered on his face. Mia's heart dropped. Recognizing her moment, fear twisted her gut. Just as she began to bask in the validation of her efforts, she overheard whispers.
"Chef Adams always creates magic. He must have refined her dish." Her breath caught. They were attributing her labor to his legacy. How could he? Fury surged. In that tumultuous moment, she teetered on the edge, uncertain if she would expose him or stay silent. She wrapped her fingers around the savory bowl, glancing at the judges. Mia hesitated, caught between honoring her father's lessons and facing a truth that could shatter her. Would this be the moment that defined her? Each second thrummed painfully in her chest. As the announcer prepared to reveal the winner, her mind raced with questions of integrity and ambition, leading into a smart, bitter question. Who would she become if she let this go? The tension enveloped her like a fog, blurring her vision as hope clashed violently with her desire for justice. As the announcer's voice echoed through the grand hall, Mia's heartbeat quickened, each thump a reminder of the moment that hung grimly before her. She was caught in a storm of chaos, not just from the uncertainty of the competition, but from the battle within herself. Swathed in self-doubt, she could feel the chill of every whispered judgment and the weight of every skeptical gaze. Chef Adams's smirk lingered in her periphery, a taunting reminder of her past struggles. Could she truly allow her hard work to be swept aside by a man who had never seen her worth? The glowing anticipation of the audience contrasted sharply with the murky confusion clouding her mind. This could be her chance to redefine herself, yet the stakes felt impossibly high. She would either fade back into anonymity or step boldly into a new light. Just as the announcer prepared to speak, a deep breath escaped her lips. Was she simply a diner chef, or was there a culinary artist within her yearning to be unleashed? It wasn't just about winning, it was about claiming her narrative and demanding respect on her terms. The kitchen had always been a sanctuary, but now it felt like an arena, and even in the heart of conflict, she could feel the flickering flame of resolve growing stronger. With that resolve, she straightened her posture, summoning the legacy her father had instilled in her. She had worked tirelessly, and her dish represented not just a meal, but a culmination of her identity, memories, and dreams. Each ingredient held a story, the heirloom tomatoes rippling with childhood nostalgia, the delicate herbs whispering secrets of her father's garden. This stew was her voice, an articulation of her spirit simmering with authenticity. As the announcer's voice rose in volume, announcing the decision, her pulse quickened. And the winner is? Mia felt a surge of adrenaline. With her heart pounding, she stood frozen in that moment. She wasn't merely awaiting confirmation of her victory. She was engaging in a dance of destiny. Just as the name began to emerge, she considered the implications of what it meant to win or lose.
Was this event merely a title, or was it the key to a life filled with creative fulfillment and respect? Finally, the name echoed throughout the hall, silencing the murmurs. Mia Hayes from Tom's Diner. The resonance of her name felt surreal, as if it were someone else's reality altogether. The applause shook the air around her, but beneath the excitement, Mia sensed a quiet need for something more profound than accolades. In that moment, her eyes sought out Chef Ams. She met his gaze with unwavering determination, letting him see the flicker of defiance that burned bright within her. This was not merely a victory for her. It was a declaration, and a reminder that hard work and passion always leave a mark. With the trophy clutched tightly in her hands, Mia cleared her throat and approached the microphone. This win doesn't just belong to me. This is for every chef who fights against being underestimated, every culinary artist who strives to be seen beyond their title. As the applause faded, her words hung in the air, an invitation to recognize the struggle and the support that bind the culinary world together. The power of her voice propelled her further than she had imagined, transforming the fear that had once held her hostage. Yet as she stepped down from the stage, she felt the weight of the world suddenly settle at her feet. Was this just the beginning? Did stepping into her truth mean she was ready to confront Chef Adams directly? The prospect of having that confrontation loomed over her, beckoning her to uncover the potential that still lay unaddressed. With adrenaline coursing through her veins, she felt the contours of her future stretch ahead, uncertain yet ablaze with possibilities. This victory was merely a stepping stone. What came next would define her journey. Would she confront the past that haunted her? Would she gather enough courage to forge her own path, devoid of the shadows that once brought her down? The moment had come to decide how she would wield her newfound power. Something was brewing that could alter not just her fate, but the culinary landscape itself. Mia's heart raced as she stepped off the stage, the reality of the trophy in her hands weighing heavy against her chest, not simply as a symbol of victory, but as a harbinger of change. The crowded hall buzzed around her, celebratory laughter and applause ringing like a distant echo to her heightened senses. She was enveloped in a haze of disbelief and possibility, her earlier self-doubt battling with the newfound confidence swelling within her. As she navigated through the throng of fellow chefs and culinary enthusiasts, each congratulatory gesture felt like a double-edged sword. How could they see her success as a mere whisper of her true potential? In that elation, seeds of uncertainty sprouted. What did this victory mean beyond applause? How would it alter her standing with Chef Adams, the embodiment of her past infractions and insurmountable hurdles?
Inside the green room, the savory scent of gastronomic delights wafted past her, but her focus was on one singular confrontation, the impending dialogue with Chef Adams. She had observed him throughout the competition, a stoic figure in his crisp white coat, but beneath that facade lay the doubts and critiques that had shaped her culinary journey. It was time to confront the specter that had loomed large over her aspirations. She caught a glimpse of Chef Adams through the crowd, his expression a blend of begrudging respect and undisguised irritation. The familiar smirk tugged at the corners of his mouth, yet Mia felt a flicker of empowerment gnawing at her hesitation. No longer would she allow his perceptions to dictate her narrative. She was ready to unearth the strength that accompanied her triumph, to convert her moment of glory into a catalyst for change. Mia took a deep breath, steadying her pounding heart. As if in response to her resolve, the applause and chatter around her faded, leaving only the sound of her own determined footsteps. She grasped her trophy tighter, a reminder that she had earned her place in this industry, not solely by winning, but by daring to voice her presence. "Chef Adams," she called out, her voice steady yet charged with an underlying current of challenge. His eyes flicked to meet hers, a flicker of surprise breaking through his otherwise composed demeanor. "Mia," he replied, feigning indifference, but the slight tilt of his head revealed his intrigue. "Can we talk?" The words felt foreign and bold on her tongue, yet they bore no hint of the shrinking girl he had once belittled. She was asking for clarity, a chance to solidify her new footing, no longer eager to cower behind the veil of her previous insecurities. He hesitated, glancing around as if seeking an escape route, but she stood firm. "This isn't just about the competition, it's about where I fit in this world. I refuse to fade away into shadows again." "Is that what you think this is, a stepping stone?" he replied, the smirk faltering for a moment. "Do you really believe one victory can change everything?" A surge of courage pulsed through Mia. "It's not just a victory, it's a message. One win doesn't define me, but it's a start. It gives me the right to demand to be seen. And if I'm not willing to stand up for what I've accomplished, then I'll always be what you perceive me to be." Each sentence formed a bridge between the fear of being marginalized and the desire to assert her identity. The struggle within wasn't merely for respect, but to excavate her worth from beneath layers of doubt. Chef Adams's brows knit together in contemplation. This was the moment, a testament to her evolution. Was he prepared to change his perceptions, or would he dismiss her words as mere bluster? "Fine," he said finally, crossing his arms. "Let's see what you can really do. This was a lucky break, Mia. Show me you're more than this trophy." Mia felt a rush of adrenaline.
His challenge ignited something within her, a fire ready to shake the foundations she had so often been asked to build upon. "I will," she replied, heart racing at the possibility that awaited her, eager to prove he was wrong. She turned to leave, the weight of the world now a stirring hum of exhilarating opportunity. The kitchen awaited her, an open canvas to explore newfound depths. The stakes would only rise, but so would her determination to rise with them. Mia stepped outside, the cool night air invigorating her senses, leaving her drenched in adrenaline rather than fear. What would she create next? The question lingered, its answer a promise of confrontation between her former self and the person she was becoming. The future awaited, drenched in the possibilities she was now ready to seize. What metamorphosis lay ahead for her culinary journey, and how far would she push her boundaries before emerging anew? Mia awoke the following morning, her pulse still racing from the night before. The trophy glittered on her nightstand, a constant reminder of the challenge Chef Adams had thrown her way. This was more than a conquest. It was a catalyst igniting her desire to push beyond her perceived limitations. What fresh plate would she serve? How would she reinvent herself? With determination anew, she sprang from her bed, a resolve coursing through her veins. The kitchen had always been her sanctuary, a place where she spoke fluently in flavors and textures. But now, it was a battleground, a space for her to forge her identity anew. She decided to experiment with an innovative dish she'd been ruminating on, a fusion of her grandmother's traditional recipes and modern culinary techniques. As she chopped, sautéed, and tasted, each action became a declaration of intent. Butter sizzled in the pan, its rich aroma enveloping her as spices danced in the air. In her mind, she envisioned plating her dish, vibrant colors contrasting against minimalist presentation, each element a testament to her journey. Yet beneath the excitement, nagging thoughts lay. Was Chef Adams right? Was her recent victory merely a fluke? She had outshone competitors with their extensive training, while her culinary education was a backdrop of quick fixes and late nights. What did she truly know? Doubt slithered into her mind like a stubborn vine, wrapping around her resolve. She paused, dipping a spoon into the sauce, the tangy perfection temporarily grounding her. She could hear Chef Adams's voice echoing in her head. "Show me you're more than this trophy." It struck her that this was an invitation, not just to prove herself to him, but to reconcile with her past. For too long, she had allowed others to shape her identity, and now it was time to dismantle those confines. After hours of testing and refining her dish, she prepped for the evening showcase, a culinary event where the local elite gathered to savor delicacies and delight in the newest talent.
Every bite would need to echo her transformation, a silent conversation with those who had doubted her. Her heart thumped in her chest as she secured her last creation for transport. This was more than a showcase. It was a platform. Arriving at the venue, the vibrant sounds of laughter and clinking glasses reverberated through the air, dizzying her senses. The room was a mosaic of suits and gowns, chefs and critics. Standing in the bustling kitchen filled with excited chatter, she felt like a solitary island, her uncertainty creeping back amidst the cacophony of confident individuals. She was an imposter amid culinary artisans. But she was without a choice. Chef Adams's challenge rang in her ears like a war drum. As she moved through the kitchen, she caught a glimpse of him overseeing the assembly of dishes, the same stoic demeanor etched onto his face. If she faltered, if she crumbled under the weight of his gaze, what would that mean for her newly minted confidence? Determined not to show any hesitation, she took a deep breath, steadying her mind. She slid past the bustle, emerging at her station adorned with her carefully crafted dishes, each plating meticulously arranged. Now was the time for visibility, to prove to herself and to him that there was substance beneath the surface of her bravado. As the first guests approached her table, anticipation curled in her stomach. Each plate she presented was not just food, but a representation of her journey. Would they savor the nuances, the story behind every bite she planned to share? Underneath the chatter, she could hear her heart racing, a metronome counting down the moments of judgment to come. Would Chef Adams be a witness or a critic? Resting in this balance, Mia anchored herself to the essence of her culinary narrative. The time had come to showcase her evolution, but what awaited her on the other side, validation or scorn, remained deliciously uncertain. Would this night truly validate her transformation, or would the specter of doubt dim the light she had fought to ignite? The first guest took a bite, their expression hidden behind a mask of politeness. Mia's heart thudded in her chest, each second stretching into eternity. What was she truly hoping for? A satisfied smile, an encouraging nod, or something far more definitive? She scanned their face, searching for validation as if the success of her journey depended on one person's reaction. "Delicious," the guest exclaimed, their voice cutting through the noise around her. Mia felt an electric jolt of relief course through her. It was a momentary high that sent her grinning, but as quickly as it came, the doubt returned. What if it was just one moment, one opinion? She had to maintain the flow, to keep the momentum and prove, not only to them but also to herself, that she was deserving of this event in every platter she offered. A steady stream of patrons approached. Each tasted her dish, each bite becoming a dialogue. Was it an earnest compliment or mere courtesy? She masked her insecurities beneath a bright smile, thinking back to Chef Adams's challenge. It haunted her, layered with implications. On one hand, it was motivation. On the other, a nagging specter. She had to rise above her self-doubt, not merely for him, but for her own growth. As the night progressed, her confidence swelled each time another guest acknowledged her creation. Still, amidst the praises, her mind flitted back to those nagging thoughts about her trajectory. What if this night was nothing more than beginner's luck? Was she merely playing a role crafted by her insecurities? Mia couldn't afford to let hesitation dictate her narrative. She took a moment, stepping aside to the edge of the bustling scene, squeezing her eyes shut. She needed clarity, a moment before plunging deeper into the fray. Her hands trembled a fraction, revealing the fragility of her resolve. Could she truly be more than a fleeting success? Closing her eyes, she replayed her journey, the long nights of cooking alongside her grandmother, the small victories that had built her skill, each step leading to this moment. Reinvigorated, she returned to her station, her determination a tapestry woven from her rich background and inherent passion. Each customer brought new energy, and a quiet thrill coursed through her as they indulged in her dish's intricate flavors. Then, out of the corner of her eye, she noticed Chef Adams approaching. His presence loomed over the bustling tables like a thundercloud, a dual potential of validation or judgment coalescing within him. He stopped midway, watching her with that stoic expression, a firm gaze dissecting her every move. Sweat glistened on her forehead as she mentally prepared herself. Did he come to critique or encourage? In that moment, she felt scraped raw, uncertainty washing over her like a tidal wave. What did she want to hear? Did she want him to validate her, reassure her that she had indeed evolved, or was she ready for the brutal honesty he was known for? Maybe that was what she needed to push through, the direct confrontation that would crack open the potential she had buried beneath layers of doubt. As he approached her station, the crowd around them faded into a mere whisper. The time had come to face the truth, Mia realized, adrenaline coursing through her as she caught his eye, an unspoken challenge hanging in the air. What would he say? How would he judge the essence of her creation, reflecting upon not just the dish, but the woman standing before him? The culmination of her journey was on the verge of revelation. Mia's breath caught as Chef Adams drew closer, the intensity of his gaze searching for weaknesses she had long been trying to hide. She straightened her back, instinctively tucking a stray strand of hair behind her ear,
a gesture of nervousness that she wished to eradicate.
This was not just about her culinary skills anymore. It was about confronting her deepest fears and the myriad doubts that had shackled her for too long. The mask she wore was fraying, but she held onto it tightly as she sensed the curiosity of those around her wane, their chatter fading into the background, just like her self-doubt had faded when the first guest praised her dish. The applause of that moment was an echo she wished to recreate in her mind, yet the looming figure of Chef Adams struck a dissonant chord in her heart. He raised the plate, eyeing its contents meticulously. Mia's pulse quickened, a whirlwind of nerves erupting inside her. Would he appreciate the delicate balance of flavors that she had painstakingly crafted, or would he dismantle her efforts with a single critical word? It felt as if the entire weight of her aspirations rested on this singular moment, and she felt both exhilarated and terrorized. "Mia," he began, his voice smooth yet commanding, "I've seen you grow since you first entered my kitchen, and tonight," he paused, forming the words with deliberate care, each syllable sending a ripple of anxiety vibrating through her. "Tonight is a testament to your potential." A flicker of pride danced in her chest, igniting a spark against the storm brewing in her mind, but it was quickly overshadowed by the specter of what followed. "However," he continued, and the air thickened, "success isn't a destination, it's a journey that demands continuous effort. Your dish tonight shows promise, but it feels inconsistent. Some bites burst with creativity, while others fall flat." The truth hit her like a gust of wind, harsh yet somehow refreshing. He didn't mince words, but he wasn't entirely cruel. What stung the most was not his critique, but the recognition that he was right. Doubt flickered in her mind again, threatening to weave itself back into her consciousness. Could she keep up with the demands of an unforgiving culinary world? Yet, rather than retreat into the familiar cave of insecurity, Mia felt a distinct shift. She began to see Chef Adams not merely as a mentor to impress or a critic to fear, but as an ally, someone whose honesty could carve a clearer path for her growth. "Thank you," she replied, her voice steadier than she expected. It was a small declaration, but it resonated with a newfound determination. "I'll keep working, keep pushing." A flicker of approval passed over his features. "Good," he said, his posture relaxing slightly. "Remember, the best chefs aren't defined by their moments of glory, but by how they rise after each fall. Keep that in mind, and you'll carve your own path." His words sank into her like seeds in fertile soil, creating the motivation for her to nurture them into flourishing growth. There were layers to her journey that needed untangling, and perhaps this moment was just the start. She glanced at the crowd, witnesses to her internal battle, yet oblivious to the wars waged within. They were here for the food, but they unknowingly bore witness to her determination. Before she had time to digest this, Chef Adams stepped back, and his expression shifted. "Let's talk later. I've got an opportunity coming up that I think you might be ready for." The weight of his words hung in the air, a doorway to something greater. Euphoria mingled with anxiety as her mind raced ahead. What did he mean by opportunity? Was it another challenge, another way to test her against the culinary elite? The questions buzzed like an electric current, sending waves of anticipation through her. For the first time, the future didn't seem daunting, but exhilarating. It wasn't just about one night of validation, it was about the unfolding path ahead. As she arranged her station, her thoughts tangled with ambitions as fresh as the ingredients before her. At that moment, Mia understood. She was on the precipice of a significant transformation, one that demanded not only her skills, but her heart. There was no way to predict what lay ahead, but she was ready to embrace the uncertainty, to forge her identity in the heat of the kitchen flames. Little did she know, the challenges ahead would test not only her culinary prowess, but also her character in ways she could never expect. Each trial would compel her to confront her limits, unearthing capabilities she had yet to discover. As she prepared for her next round of guests, she felt the rush of heat not just from the stove, but from within, a simmering resolve ignited by the promise of growth, and she wouldn't let it fizzle out. What kind of challenges awaited her? Would she embrace the chance for a leap forward, or would doubt threaten to pull her back into the shadows? Each decision loomed larger than before,
and the next step would expose the real Mia, culinary artist, resilient spirit, unyielding. Mia stepped back into the kitchen, wild thoughts swirling as the door swung shut behind her. The sounds of the gala faded into a distant murmur, and all that remained were the rhythmic clinks and clatters of utensils, punctuating the air with a sense of urgency. She caught her reflection in the polished steel, the sparkle in her eye betraying the medley of anticipation and anxiety brewing within. The words of Chef Adams echoed in her mind, a mixture of praise and critique that acted like a double-edged sword. He had recognized her potential, yet had also shoved her flaws into the spotlight. She felt the trembling specter of self-doubt creep back, whispering insidiously about her inconsistencies. Could she really embrace this opportunity he mentioned? The thought clawed at her, creating a tension she had to confront head-on. With each sliced carrot and diced onion, she forced herself to focus on the rhythm of her actions, nearly meditative. This wasn't just about perfecting her technique. It was a chance to redefine what culinary excellence meant for her, a blend of creativity, precision, and personal identity.
As she worked, the kitchen buzzed around her, her colleagues moving seamlessly between each other with efficiency born of experience. They commanded their spaces like seasoned generals. Mia's confidence, however, fluctuated like the flame she tended, soaring high, then flickering low. She glanced at Jenna, a co-chef who seemed to handle the pressure effortlessly. Was there a secret she could uncover? "Mia," Jenna's voice cut through her reverie. "Snap out of it. You need to focus on your own strengths rather than getting lost in comparisons." That line struck a chord. While competition brewed in the air, so did camaraderie. Chef Adams had shown her that growth wasn't merely a solitary venture. She could lean on others, learn from them, but ultimately it was her passion that needed to ignite the path forward. Nudging away thoughts of inadequacy, she diverted her focus back to her flair for flavors, an often dull blade she knew she needed to sharpen. Mia grabbed a handful of her go-to herbs, basil, rosemary, and thyme, with reverent precision, letting the rich scents envelop her senses. Here lay the essence of her culinary identity, a deep connection with ingredients that told stories of their own. Suddenly, the kitchen door swung open, and Chef Adams stepped inside, his mere presence amplifying the air of intensity. His eyes scanned the room but landed squarely on her. "This is it, Mia. I'm assigning you to lead one of the stations for the VIP guests coming through next. It will be your moment to shine." The words struck her like a bolt of lightning, igniting both a rush of excitement and a paralyzing trepidation. Her heart raced as she met his gaze, steeling herself against the maelstrom of emotions. Could she handle the responsibility? Would she collapse under the pressure, or rise to dazzle as he believed she could? "You'll be on appetizers. They expect something unique," Chef Adams added, sensing her hesitation. "But remember, this isn't about perfection. It's about authenticity. Share who you are through your food." With that, he was gone, leaving a whirlwind of thoughts in his wake. The unyielding pinnacle of expectation sparked a tumultuous internal struggle. Part of her yearned to retreat, hidden beneath layers of self-doubt, while the other side beckoned her to embrace this challenge, a sharpened tool waiting to carve out her identity in the culinary world. Amidst the chaos, Mia felt an unfamiliar surge of resolve as she began to strategize. She had to create an appetizer that showcased not only her skills, but her unique vision, a dish that encapsulated her journey thus far and hinted at the layers still unfolding within her. Would she discover a flavor profile that not only represented her heritage, but also intertwined her personal growth? The thought loomed large, illuminating the path ahead like the flames licking up from the stove. Yet, where would this revelation lead her?
With newfound clarity, Mia set to work, tuning everything out except for the rhythm of her heartbeat and the simmering pot before her. She was no longer just preparing a dish, she was preparing to weave the story of her transformation into a tapestry that would be shared with those who tasted her work. What flavors would she blend to express this new chapter? Would her busy mind befriend the creative instincts she often stifled? Now was the moment to confront both potential and fear head-on. The heat in the kitchen intensified, reflecting her own mounting fervor. And just as it seemed clarity was within her reach, a shadow sparked another surge of doubt. What if she fell short? The moment of truth was fast approaching, and her ultimate test was just around the corner. Mia stood at her station, surrounded by a cacophony of sizzling pans and fervent chatter, each sound amplifying the urgency that drummed in her chest. The reality of her assignment settled heavily on her shoulders, appetizers that demanded not just skill, but a piece of herself, crafted with a narrative only she could narrate. Her hands moved mechanically for the moment, but inside a storm brewed. Each herb she tore, every ingredient she prepped, felt burdened by the weight of expectation. Could she infuse her culinary creations with the essence of her journey, or would her fears render them bland and forgettable? As she pulled fresh tomatoes from the vine, she remembered the summer afternoons spent in her grandmother's garden, basking in the warmth of the sun while learning the way to coax flavor out of simple ingredients. She could almost hear her grandmother's voice echoing through time. "Food tells our stories, Mia. Don't let anyone silence yours." It reignited a spark within her, urging her to break from the confines of doubt. She paused, breathing in the aromatic sweetness, allowing memories to guide her. Passion overshadowed trepidation as she explored the idea of a dish that represented her heritage, a blend of her grandmother's traditional recipes with a modern twist that symbolized her growth, something unique that merged nostalgia with her evolving identity as a chef. Mia envisioned a delicate bruschetta topped with heirloom tomatoes, a drizzle of balsamic reduction, and a hint of smoked sea salt. The simplicity almost belied the complexity it could embody, layers of flavor reflecting her journey from uncertainty to confidence, from shadow to vibrant expression. Suddenly Jenna appeared beside her, a playful smirk on her face. "Looks like someone's deep in thought. Are we caging flavors or unleashing them?" Mia chuckled, grateful for the break in tension. "Trying to release, actually," she replied, the corners of her lips lifting. "It's just a lot, you know?" Jenna leaned in closer, her expression shifting to one of understanding. "Trust in what you know. You've got this as long as you allow yourself to connect with the food. It shouldn't feel like a performance."
Mia felt the lingering shadow of comparison lift as Jenna's words sank in. This wasn't about eclipsing her teammates. It was about standing confidently within her own light. With newfound resolve, Mia layered each component of her appetizer with intention and care, breathing life into what initially felt like a daunting task. As she placed the bruschetta onto the serving tray, she was struck by the simplicity of her creation. It was a mirror reflecting her own journey. Perhaps the authenticity Chef Adams had emphasized was found in trusting herself and her unique perspective as a budding chef. Just then, the kitchen door swung open. Chef Adams re-entered, his eyes scanning the final preparations with critical intent. "Everything looking good?" he queried, leaning closer to inspect her work. "Almost there," Mia answered, her pulse quickening under his scrutinizing gaze. He nodded, but then paused, lingering on her bruschetta, nearly ready to go. "You decided on this? It feels personal," he noted, a hint of approval surfacing. "It is," she admitted, a fleeting smile crossing her face, emboldened by his recognition. "It represents where I come from and where I'm headed." Adams studied her for a moment before speaking. "This is the kind of honesty I was hoping to see from you, Mia. Remember, authenticity is the soul of great food. Just don't forget to let that vision drive you when the plates go out." Moments later, the first rounds of guests began to fill into the dining area. Mia's heart raced as her prepared plates were dispatched to the eager audience. She couldn't help but feel a swell of anticipation, her food, her beliefs, her passion ready to be tasted. Then, as she caught a glimpse of a familiar face in the crowd, a sudden wave of insecurity crashed over her. What if they didn't savor her creation? What if her cherished memories didn't translate into delicious bites? But before the anxious thoughts could sink in, Mia stood tall, reminding herself that this night was about connection, not comparison. She would share a piece of herself through her work and allow the flavors to speak for her. Just as she exhaled, the first feedback began to tumble in. Critiques turned into admiration. Enthusiastic murmurs echoed around her as confidence flickered back into existence. Yet with each compliment that floated back her way, a new realization emerged. This moment was only a step in a longer journey, with challenges yet to unveil. Could she continue to embrace her culinary identity, or would pressure threaten her newfound spark? The night unfolded further, and as the enthusiasm of the guests surged, Mia contemplated if she had tapped into something deeper within herself, something just waiting to be fully summoned. Was she truly ready to seize this transformation? With every plate sent out, Mia's heart raced in tandem with the buzz of satisfaction rising throughout the room.
For a fleeting moment, she reveled in the praise like a sun-warmed embrace. But as the initial effusion of compliments flowed, it quickly morphed into a gnawing anxiety, an insistent voice that questioned if she could replicate this success. Mia wiped her hands on her apron, stealing glances at fellow chefs, each immersed in their chaos of plates and culinary creations. The elaborate dishes they served were vibrant and imposing, their artistry undeniable. Did she belong among them? She busied herself at her station, chopping herbs with calculated precision, trying to channel her earlier enthusiasm into her next dish, one that would further reflect her evolving identity. Yet the noise of the kitchen started to drown out her internal monologue, leaving only echoes of doubt. What if this was merely a fluke? What if her culinary voice faded into the background as she struggled to maintain momentum? As if reading her thoughts, Jenna slid in beside her again. "Getting tense?" she asked, tilting her head with concern. "Just wondering if I can keep this up," Mia muttered, her fingers stalling over the basil. "Remember what we talked about. Don't force it.
Let your stories guide your food, not fear, Jenna encouraged, her tone unyielding. You've got more to say than you realize. Mia frowned slightly, the burden of expectations swaying her like a pendulum. She didn't just want to tread water, she wanted to swim, to innovate, to leave her mark. But with creativity often came risk, and that unsettled her greatly. Let's see you do something new. Break from tradition a bit more. Take a leap, Jenna challenged, her eyes sparkling with a mix of mischief and earnestness. Mia pondered the suggestion. Could she really push the boundaries of her heritage? What new ground could she cover while staying true to her roots? The thought landed like a spark, igniting a latent hunger within her to explore rather than conform. Suddenly, Mia felt exposed. The rush of adrenaline transformed into clarity. With renewed determination, she set her sights on preparing a dish that would fuse traditional elements with an innovative flair. She envisioned a playful twist on her bruschetta, a savory sweet fig compote layered atop her heirloom tomatoes, crowned with a dollop of creamy goat cheese and sprinkled with crushed pistachios for a crunch that contrasted seamlessly with the sweetness. Gathering her ingredients, she moved with purpose, her hands no longer mechanical but driven by an artist's passion. The kitchen exploded into color and life around her as pots bubbled and flames flickered, yet she found herself in a cocoon of focus. As she plated the dish meticulously, balancing each ingredient with care, a growing sense of vulnerability emerged. She was about to present not just food, but a piece of her very essence, a fusion of her past and an exploration of her future.
When she finally sent the new creation into the dining room, a knot in her stomach twisted with anticipation. But this time it felt different. There was courage beneath her uncertainty. She had allowed her raw self to seep into her food, allowing it to be its own story, one ripe with the complexities of her identity. In the chaos, amid the clattering pans and clinking glassware, Chef Adams approached her again, his brow furrowed. "New dish? It looks intriguing," he said, scanning the colors and textures with a keen eye. "It is," she replied, her voice trembling slightly but steadier than before. "It tells a story of growth." "Good, let the stories flow. But remember that transformation isn't just about creativity. It's about continuing to cultivate that growth with each step," he replied, a hint of challenge lacing his tone. As the first feedback came in for Mia's innovative dish, the room erupted once more, this time with a symphony of eager delight. Yet as she basked in the approval, an unexpected thought punctured the celebration. She had stepped into uncharted waters, and with each risk came a new responsibility. Could she replicate this newfound boldness, or would the tides of expectation pull her back into a safer harbor? The night surged forward, and as guests clamored for more of her new creation, Mia felt the daunting realization settle like a stone. She was only at the beginning of her truest culinary journey. The echoes of their applause resonated, but deep down, a new sense of tension flickered. Was she willing to plunge deeper into this sea of creativity and self-discovery, or would she hesitate, paralyzed by the unknown? The stakes had risen, and she felt the weight of the challenge looming ahead. She took a deep breath, steadying herself for whatever came next. The moment of reckoning was approaching, and Mia was not sure if she was ready to meet it. The weeks following the gala were transformative for Mia. Each day she continued to embrace her culinary journey with renewed vigor. No longer the timid diner chef simply trying to please, she was now an artist forging her path. The accolades from the gala fueled a fire within her, ignited a hunger for more than just temporary triumph. Mia immersed herself in experimentation, channeling the knowledge she had gained from her upbringing, but also embracing the contemporary techniques she had so often shied away from. Every meal she prepared was a canvas. Vivid colors, bold flavors, and intricate presentations coalesced, all reflecting her identity in the most authentic way. She honed her focus on creating a signature dish that encapsulated everything she had learned while drawing from the wellspring of her experiences. Feedback became her guiding light. Those early guests back at the gala had opened her eyes to a world where culinary success was about more than just flavors. It was about storytelling.
Each dish needed to narrate her evolution, a creative expression representing her growth, aspirations, and culture. One afternoon, as sunlight streamed through her kitchen window, she found clarity in the dish that had come to define her style. A modernized ratatouille featuring heirloom vegetables, delicate microgreens, and a ginger-carrot emulsion. The simplicity belied its complexity, each bite a symphonic portrayal of her journey, from the diner to a burgeoning culinary artist. As the bubbling anticipation in the kitchen swirled around her, an invitation arrived that knocked her breath away. Chef Adams had personally requested her participation in a prestigious culinary competition, pitting her against some of the industry's finest. The chance to showcase her evolved identity was both exhilarating and terrifying. Days before the event, Mia spent countless hours in her kitchen, meticulously refining her signature dish. The pressure was palpable, yet instead of suffocating her, it propelled her forward. Each chop, each sauté, fueled her confidence, a reminder that she had already conquered so much. She deliberately visualized herself standing in front of judges, serving her creation, and demanding their acknowledgement of not just the dish, but the soul behind it. What contrasted sharply from her initial fears was a newfound unyielding confidence. Stepping into the competition area, she found herself comforted by her transformation. The kitchen was a whirlpool of sounds, but she embraced the chaos, knowing she was no longer an imposter, but a proud competitor among culinary titans. The moments of calm during the competition were surreal. When it was finally her turn, she plated her modernized ratatouille with grace and intention. Gazing at her dish, she imagined her grandmother's approving smile, the echoes of her father reminding her of the importance of hard work and resilience. Presenting it to the judges, who regarded her with interest rather than skepticism, was a pivotal moment of triumph. As they tasted her dish, Mia's heartbeat resonated thunderously in her ears. No longer wavering in uncertainty, she stood tall in her purpose. The judges deliberated, and an air of electrifying possibility enveloped her. Would they understand the journey contained within the plate before them? The announcement confirmed what she had envisioned. Mia Hayes is our winner. The cheers and applause blossomed around her like confetti, but the resonant echoes of validation were not merely about the trophy. This was a declaration of her identity, the culmination of her growth, talent, and perseverance. Amidst the celebration, she felt a profound shift within her. She was no longer tethered to the perceptions that had once held her down. Mia had achieved something significant, a rightful place in the culinary landscape.
As she glanced out across the sea of faces, her father's teachings fostered a sense of deserved fulfillment, a recognition that was more than just achievement. It was anchored in passion, authenticity, and a renewed vision that would continue to guide her journey ahead. That night, she didn't merely celebrate a trophy, she celebrated the realization of her identity. The chef she had always aspired to become was here, present and unwavering. Mia felt everything she'd worked for converge. The anxiety that once plagued her about being merely just a diner chef transformed into a solid pride. With unshakable confidence, she was ready to forge the future she desired, an authentic journey filled with creativity, resilience, and the whispers of her past guiding the way. This was only the beginning. As she stepped outside into the moonlit street, feeling alive with promise, Mia resolved to continue exploring uncharted culinary waters. The thrill of possibility awaited her, much like the first sunshine chasing a night away, and she wouldn't let it slip through her fingers. Her journey would remain a delicious evolution, brimming with flavor and unyielding spirit, one dish at a time. If you want to continue following Mia's journey and discover more exclusive emotional stories that will inspire your own transformation, you need to subscribe now. Leave a like immediately to support the channel and ensure these stories reach those who need them most. Comment below with your thoughts on Mia's incredible journey and any theories you have for what's next. And finally, share this video instantly with at least 5 friends who are on their own path of personal and professional growth. They deserve to witness this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second.